Angie, thank you so much for taking a minute out of your busy schedule to join us here. Very happy to have you on the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
So it's been, as we look at how employees engage with the workplace, we've really hit a very different setup, I think, than we've ever really seen before. And I'd love to hear from your perspective, just being high level, how has that transition been for your employees, going from what work was 3 to 4 months ago to what work is today? And how, as an organization, have you been able to assist in that transformation to make it smoother and better for the employees?
Sure. So I guess how work was is our organization operated completely from businesses or buildings. And as we're sort of faced with the COVID pandemic, we made a decision to transition 100% of the workplace to work from home. Sure. And while that was the right transition, both for the individuals and for the business, it definitely led to a different approach in terms of being able to help employees or to move through usual business routine. So we've had to do a review of, what are different processes and how can we execute on those virtually versus, being in the same environment as a coworker. And from an HR aspect, looking at how do we support the team remotely when there was, I guess at the initial transition, there was a high level of uncertainty of not only what's happening in the environment or happening in the world, but also how does that relate to me as an employee in this business at this time. So kind of shifting in, that was over 3 months ago that we made that decision to go work from home. And through this time, we put in different processes or enhanced our processes from a leadership capability to make sure that we're aware of how employees are feeling, how their performance is doing, and that we have points with each of them. So they have an opportunity to be able to communicate one-on-one with different leaders in the organization. Okay. Through that time, we've seen, we've kind of gone from a state of worry and unknown and have shifted a little more to a feeling of routine or some sense of normalcy through this weird time.
Stability.
And it's certainly not I don't think ever going to be a perfect situation, but we've definitely made the best out of it in terms of seeing, being able to continue having full-time employment for every person in the company, figuring out, who's really, one of the things we've relied on is using our collaborative tools to be able to have that connection and that culture sustained of being able to reach out to coworkers at different points. So that type of effort or using those types of tools made us realize with our diverse workforce, there's some folks who are really comfortable with technology and adapting to new tools, and then there's others who aren't so much. So one of the big pieces that we had to tackle was being able to really make sure we're getting the training to each person in the way that'll be meaningful to them. Because we knew a huge part that was going to lead to our success through the transition would be having the ability to connect with individuals just as frequently as we would when we were back in an office.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? How much we take for granted in the fact that, listen, not being in an office means something completely different. There are so many assumptions that we can make if we meet with someone in an office, right? We can assume they're probably not in any sort of life-threatening danger, that their family's probably fine. There's these fundamental, and then there's that vibe, right? They can kind of pick up and sense the mood, read the room, if you will. All that being gone, I mean, that takes away a lot of data points, understanding how employees are doing. So I'd love to tap on, you mentioned something that I thought was really interesting, your focus on one-on-ones. Tell me a little bit more about that. How has this, and it sounded like there was an increased focus now with the transitions. Has that been the case? And how have you seen, what does that look like in execution, trying to best connect with employees one-on-one, either from manager to employee, from yourself to employees, or from the executive? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we've kind of come at it a couple different ways. We did have one-on-ones when we were in the office, and I think it was is in some ways a little more ad hoc, right? As an HR leader, I can just, come up to someone's workstation and say, hey, how's your day going? What's going on, right? How do we kind of put that same feel into a virtual environment? And, the solution was really that as a group of leaders, we need to tackle this all together. So it isn't, HR having one-on-ones with every person in the company, but we think about, which leader has the right rapport with different individuals, or who may employees feel most comfortable opening up to if they were experiencing a concern. And we each just structure sort of checkpoints with employees to touch base with them and see how things are going.
What is the most important thing that you think, and maybe not in the specific example, but for other folks out there that are trying to think, we need to do more one-on-ones, what are some of the important pieces that you should really cover in a one-on-one to make sure that it's effective, you're getting the information that you need, right? If you have a one-on-one with me and you say, Alexander, how you doing? I say, I'm fine. And then you walk away going, Alexander's great. You learned nothing, right? And so how do you work past maybe some of that sort of stuff to really
Sure. So I think the most important thing is in being able to build engagement is knowing that each party feels safe to express their thoughts, right? So creating a sort of environment of psychological safety is very important. So just making sure that or various leaders are aware of, what's our facial expression, what's our tone, do we have other things on our mind, can we give a full attention to somebody?
Right. They're sitting there like this the whole time.
Yeah, or hang on, I got this email I need to reply to. Oh, sorry about that, my cell phone's ringing.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
That knowing that there's time that's dedicated for you, and if you gave me an answer of, I'm fine, I would actually say, well, are you? Like, are you really? What do you mean?
So probably not.
What's going on in your day? Tell me about some of the things that are going really well, or what things might not be going as well as you'd like them to be. Anything I can do to sort of help with that, right? And so I think as you sort of create that environment of saying, this is a safe place for you and I to talk, and I can be a listening ear for you. I may not understand the complexities of some of the things you're experiencing, but I can do my part to listen and try to guide you if that's what you need, or if there's things that are someone's experiencing that impacting them outside of work, which interesting, outside of work is the same place as inside of work these days. One of the things I think is utmost important is for leaders to be more and more mindful about mental health and mental wellness throughout the workplace, because I think traditionally that's something that we would kind of say is an HR responsibility, I think, in some environments. More and more with a remote workforce, each leader needs to sort of be in tune with what are some of the things that I'm experiencing or detecting, seeing from members of my team, and how can I help them with what I know. As
we've seen COVID progress, and as we've seen a real, frankly, decrease in our interhuman connectivity, right, especially in the workforce, we've seen a direct increase in depression, other mental health issues, that it's a very serious and very real concern. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to just kind of, as we wrap up today, how do you create a safe environment at your workplace that allows employees to be able to come forward with some of these traditionally socially tabooed subtopics that are more important than ever for them to raise their hand and be like, I'm really struggling here. I need some help. How does that happen?
Yeah, so I don't think that environment was created at the point that we went virtual. I think it was ingrained in our DNA, right? As an organization, is having a real sense of caring about each individual in the company and connecting with those individuals. That was extremely helpful to us whenever we transitioned to virtual, because we had an understanding of how's person A normally, right? When they're feeling good and when they're performing well. What are some of the things that we see in their personality? Mm-hmm. And you can start to figure out if somebody's a little not themselves in a certain day or a certain week, that's uncharacteristic. It's not normal for that person, right? So, not at all suggesting that we all become, proficient in being able to counsel people, but again, just getting them to be able to open up, and then we're able to talk more about, are there options internally that we can support with, or are there options externally to support as well?
No, that makes a lot of sense. And thank you so much, Angie, for sharing your thoughts and really some of the experiences that your organization's been having. Really appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing this conversation in the future.
Guys, thanks so much.